The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. I feel like the visual version of this program is going to offer a little something extra for you this week, viewers and listeners. As you all know, you can catch this program in an audio format, either on all major podcast platforms or on our Sirius XM satellite radio home. But we also do this show as a video live stream. You can watch this on YouTube or Twitch or on our favorite live streaming partner, volume.com. And so you might say to yourself, well, Ryan, if we're already listening to your show as a podcast, why might we want to watch the visual version? Well, this week I feel like the visual version of the show is offering you something a little extra, and it is this. Right before we went live this week, my dog Molly wandered into the room, and she's made clear to me that it's one of those nights where she's not going to tolerate being outside the room while I record. She doesn't want to be alone. I'm home alone in the house. Molly doesn't want to be alone. So she is pretty insistent that she's going to stay in the room with me. And you can't see her on camera right now because she's low to the ground. But I feel like in any moment, Molly could make her presence felt because she is currently lying down precariously close to this backdrop screen behind us. And a small twitch of her tail is going to send this backdrop right onto my head, killing me instantly. And so all that is meant to say, if you're watching this program this week, you have a special treat in that I could be crushed to death at any moment, and who wouldn't want to miss that on a live stream? What else are you looking forward to on this week's show? Well, how about our guest in the second segment? Assuming I survive that long, we'll be chatting with our guest this week, music legend. We all love her. She's a friend of the program. Ariel Hyatt of Cyber PR is going to be here. I adore her. Every time she comes on the show, we learn so much. She's got a new book out called From Buzz to Bond, How to Stop Chasing Hype and Build a Lasting Music Career. I read this book. I loved it. It had a lot of really great advice in it. And I got a very, very advanced copy of this book. I got this book about months before its release. And it's been frustrating for me because I want you all to enjoy this book as much as I have. And I've had to wait a long time for this book to get out into the world, but it's here. And I want you all to check it out and enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed it. But until then, we're going to be chatting with Ariel about her book and get some advice from her this week. So that's going to be coming up in the second segment. But coming up right now, right this second, possibly right before this backdrop comes crashing down on my head because of my dog and an errant swipe of her tail, our co-host this week. Always a pleasure to be joined by Zach Sloan. Hi, Zach.
I'm back. I made it.
Woo!
Hey, I know. Ryan, I'm sad I was gone last week, and I apologize for that. But then when I logged in today and I saw that our guest was Ariel Hyatt, I was like, well, that's pretty dope. I love Ariel.
I'm a little suspicious. I feel like you kind of timed this out just so your show would line up with Ariel's show. Like, you think you got a little starstruck on us, Zach?
I'll tell you what, whenever I get the information about the show, I always like to do a lot of prep on who our guest is. I had to do zero research on Ariel. I've been following her for a long time. I have one of her first books right here. Ariel's fantastic. I can't wait to talk to her again. But the show went great last week, man. Jasmine Ortiz pulled a pinch hit. It did such a great job.
Oh, isn't she just swell? It was
very crushed it.
Yeah, very nice of her to come in on a pinch, or come in a pinch, I should say. And I encourage all of you, if you're looking for a program that gives you a similar fix to what you get here at Break the Business. I'd certainly recommend you check out the Jasmine Ortiz show on iHeartRadio. She does some great interviews over there too. And I have a suspicion, Zach, that this is not the last we've heard of Jasmine Ortiz on this program. She's too bright and she's got too many great things to say for us to just keep her on the sidelines forever. But because you weren't here last week, and we had to bring in Jasmine Ortiz, I did not get your perspective on what I think was a pretty wild story in the music industry, one that I know is particularly pertinent to you as a music producer. And it's this whole story about this Velvet Sundown band, this fake AI band that has infiltrated all the streaming services, has gotten streamed over 1 million times on Spotify. This band's music is completely fake. The band is fake. The photos are fake. Everything is fake, fake, fake. And the music sucks. And as I said before, we never make fun of artists on this show because the act of creating something is an act of courage, and we always appreciate that, even if the work itself is not our cup of tea. But I don't abide by that rule when the music is created by the robots. I can say, this band sucks. And yet, Spotify has allowed this band to get over 400,000 monthly listeners, I believe, and over 1 million streams. I mean, it boggles the mind. Zach, where do you stand on this band? What do you make of all this?
So I think I agree with actually everything that Jasmine and you said last week. I want to take it a step further. This is all my thought, so this is not fact. So allegedly to all of this, I don't think, Ryan, that this is a problem that Spotify is letting it happen. I think it's a thing that Spotify is making happen. I think, as Jasmine said, follow the money. I bet if we follow it all the way back, I would bet a lot of money that Spotify some way created this band, that Spotify is pushing them onto playlists, and that they are pushing this crappy music into people's ears. And it infuriates me because, as we've talked about ad nauseum on the show, fake music pulls away from real artists. And this is Spotify's way of just paying other artists even less, all while they say they don't have enough money to pay the artists. While was it their CEO put in millions of dollars into AI weapons companies?
Oh yeah, it's like affiliated with like an AI weapons company, and there's a very famous band whose name I can't remember that like pulled their music off of Spotify out of protest for Daniel Ek joining with that AI weapons company. So I never thought I'd mention that sentence.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just, dude, it's bad, it's awful. And I can answer Jasmine's question. She asked I thought, a great question last week. How come a couple years ago, when an individual did this exact thing, he faced jail time, he faced fines? I mean, did he actually go to jail for a little bit? I
know he got indicted. We have to look up the epilogue on that story and see what happened.
I can explain exactly why that's not happening in this case. Because Spotify is the one who's doing it. And I don't know how you're exactly going to indict the company. So this Citizens United gone crazy, dude.
So, producer Lauren, I'm going to give you an impossible homework assignment. It's one of my favorite things to do on this show is give producer Lauren impossible homework assignments. There was a case, we covered it on the show like a year or two ago, of somebody getting indicted. Like the FBI, broke down the door of the battering ram. Everybody down. Indicted this somebody for creating like a fake streaming operation through Spotify. I don't remember the name of who it was, but I need you, Lauren, to look up who this was and to give us like an update. Did this person like end up in jail? Was there a plea bargain? Like, I want to know where this person is now. And yes, Zach, I would like to know, what the heck is the difference between what that person did and creating a fake AI band and being less than honest with people about the authenticity of this band and letting them sort of stay up there, masquerading as a real band and giving them promotion on playlists? Now, I will say this. We don't have any direct evidence that Spotify has something to do with this band existing or this band proliferating. I can't read that. North Carolina musician charged with music streaming fraud aided by that sounds right.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep looking.
So I think that was the story. And I think that came out like a year or two ago, but we need to figure out what happened to that person. But anyway, I don't, we don't have any direct evidence that Spotify is creating this band themselves to try to siphon money from living, breathing, red-blooded artists. But we have what you and I like to call circumstantial evidence as lawyers that something weird is going on there. Because why else would this band have so much listenership? It's not a good song. Like,
No,
you
it's
listen
terrible.
to Dust on the Wind, that song sucks. It is bad. It is not good music. But so the only way this song could be getting the numbers it's getting is if somebody is boosting it. If somebody is getting it preferential placement on playlist. And whether it's Spotify doing it directly or just it allowing bots to exist that are juicing up this band's numbers, either way, that's not acceptable behavior by Spotify. Now, I concede, Zach, that there are going to be some people out there who think that Spotify should not make a distinction between human and non-human artists. Like, there are people who are going to say, look, put all the music out there and let the people decide, right? Let's, whatever the people... God, producer Lauren's just like putting up legal complaints now. What the? I'm not going to read an indictment, like a legal pleading on the show, producer Lauren.
I will. From approximately 2017 and up until including 2024. No, this is terrible.
Okay. So I lost my train of thought because I saw a legal pleading. What were we talking about? God.
We have the circumstantial evidence.
Yeah, so the circumstantial evidence, but beyond that, we were talking about, making a distinction, right? You could make the argument, like, Spotify doesn't have to make a distinction between real and fake artists, right? It just puts all the music out there. It doesn't discriminate, and then let people get to decide what they want to listen to. The problem is, if you're Spotify and you're doing that, you are going against what you say you're about as Spotify. If you go to the first page of Spotify's investor documents, you don't even have to go around that far. Literally page 1, you'll find Spotify's mission statement. It's not a long mission statement. I can read it in its entirety. It says, quote, "Our mission is to unlock the potential of human creativity by giving 1 million creative artists the opportunity to live off their art and billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by it." The mission statement's not, we're going to allow all the content on our platform and whatever becomes popular becomes popular. It specifically says, we're here for human creativity. We're here to create opportunities for artists who make art, not robots who make crap. And so if you're saying that's your mission, if that's the reason why you exist as Spotify, you cannot have a platform that not only allows music like this to proliferate, but at least doesn't even have a disclaimer right on the front that says this is not real music. Don't fall in love with this band, because if you start to like this music, you're never going to get to see them on tour. You're never going to get to see them in a music video, because this is not real.
And I think the thing, what all this comes back to me is, and again, maybe I'm just the old guy in the room here, but at some point the tides have to turn back to like being able to do this stuff live. And I actually really enjoyed your conversation with last week's guests about how, like, do these remote humans actually get together and put on a show? But the fact that that's even possible is amazing, and it is fantastic. And I think the way to partially combat this is for people to go start seeing more and more live music, so that that's a human and that they're making this music, right? And I know I say that a lot, but I think that at some point you're not going to be able to trust. I mean, does anybody really trust Spotify at this juncture? You need to be able to go out and see these bands for yourself. And plus, we all know that the artists make more money from you going to their shows than you streaming them anyway.
That was true even like 30 years ago, back when the recorded music industry was actually a thing and artists could make money off of recorded music. Even back then, artists made more money by going out on the road. Today, forget about it, right? Like when you're talking about 0.6 of a cent per stream, and the Velvet Sundown has taken all your streams away anyway, like what chance do you have? I did notice, so there was kind of a funny wrinkle in this story that came out shortly after we did the show with Jasmine last week, Zach, where we found out that not only is the band a fake band with fake music, but they also have a fake manager that apparently was authentic sounding enough that they actually tricked a major publication. So Rolling Stone thought that they were interviewing like the manager of this AI band, like somebody who was sort of spearheading the project, somebody named Andrew Freelon. And they interviewed Andrew Freelon, and Andrew Freelon gave this whole discussion about the band and how it operated and all this stuff, only for Rolling Stone to find out that Andrew Freelon is not real. It is a pseudonym, and it's some person who saw that Velvet Sundown was getting popular, started presenting themselves as the representative of this band, set up a fake Twitter account for all of this, and then just like ran this whole elaborate hoax to trick Rolling Stone, and it worked. So like this is becoming like sad and now also kind of hilarious.
I mean, it's just the snake eating its tail at this point. What's makes me the happiest, Ryan, is I read the article that you sent me about this. The entire time I thought his name was Andrew Felon. I've all my notes say the Felon. So, I mean, not too far away.
I mean, I think you might have been seeing what you want to see there would be
yes
my best guess. So safe to say, Zach, I'm pretty angry about this and how this has all gone down. I don't like what this means for artists, even as somebody who is like a lot more bullish on AI than other people are. Like overall, I see the potential in AI. I even like AI generated music. Like we play AI generated music when we introduce all the guests on the show, while also conceding that like the AI generated music we introduce the guests are not good enough to go on Spotify. And if they were, I wouldn't put them on Spotify to take money out of ours pockets. They're goofy, stupid songs that make the guest feel good when they get introduced with them in the segment. And that's as far as we take it. But like these, AI nerds who want to actually try to create fake stars to take money out of the pockets of real stars, that makes me mad. But not as mad as
nerds.
Not as mad as all of this has made Bill Burr, because I'm pretty mad. You're pretty mad. This whole saga has sent comedian Bill Burr into just a tailspin of anger, which is hilarious. You turned me on to this, Zach. You're a listener of Bill Burr's Monday Morning Podcast, I think it's called.
That is correct. I love it.
Do you want to introduce this spectacular clip?
So Bill Burr first starts off talking about how one of the AI tech bros says that, a lot of people don't even really like making music because it's really hard, and who is this hurting? And then he goes into this full-on just hysterically angry rant about how nerds are trying to take over the music industry. And I think I think it speaks for
and it's like coming after Velvet Sundown specifically, and even like plays the clip of the song, which is hilarious. Now, I will put this disclaimer here. Bill Burr, as we know, is someone who traffics in, shall we say, salty language. There are a great deal of F-bombs in this clip, so I will issue on the front end my sincerest apologies to our dear friends at SiriusXM who are going to just like be spending the next 8 hours trying to bleep every 3 seconds of this audio clip. So, I'm sorry, but we have to play this clip because it's amazing. Producer Lauren?
Like these fucking nerds have taken over the people who can't even play instruments with computers are inventing bands that don't exist, writing songs.
Dust on the wind,
Song's
boots on
terrible.
the ground, smoke in the sky, no peace found.
And then they have bots listen to them, so then they get like 500,000 views, and then people think, oh, this is like a real band, and it isn't. Like, what fucking world are we living in here? It's unbelievable. These fucking people, like, they cannot make enough money. It wasn't enough to be screwing musicians the way that they have, unapologetically, just fucking them over the entire existence of the music business. They've done nothing but just absolutely bend over and fuck musicians. And that still isn't enough. Now they're the band. They're writing music. This is like fucking Fleetwood Mac meets Funkadelic with just a dash of Bryan Adams. And then they just put it in the thing and it spits it out. And then they kind of like, bite their bottom lip, make that face as they listen to it, and they put it out there. And then fucking people, the same people that are walking around 200 pounds overweight, wearing Crocs and workout clothes, they're just going to buy it.
He's so good at this. That was from the Monday Morning Podcast. So the thing that he said at the end is the piece that really resonated with me. And I'm going to paraphrase here, but he said, it's not enough for them to be screwing musicians, right? It's not enough that they, and it's not just the AI tech bros, by the way. It's all the way back to like the traditional recorded music industry. It's not enough that these industries are aiming to screw musicians as they have done for generations, including today. But now, with these AI bands, they want to take the next step. As Bill Burr put it, now they're the band too. Like they're not just screwing the band. Now they just want to be the band. They want to write the music. They want to, this is the last frontier of screwing over musicians where you've taken everything from them and now you're going to take who they are at the end.
Well, and I remember, I wish I could remember who it was, but it was a well-known guitarist who said he learned that A&R guys in the old record companies in the 60s, 70s, 80s were just failed musicians. And so in order to have like some semblance of power in the industry, they had to somehow finagle their way in to be the guy who decides who got the opportunities. And now those positions don't really exist anymore. So what do you got?
Yeah, what's an A&R guy?
Yeah, that's not a thing. Now what do? You make the AI band called Velvet, whatever the crap they are.
I know. I keep forgetting their name too. That's how forgettable this band is. Like, I did that like 3 times on last week's show. I could not remember the damn name of the band.
My favorite, I missed like not Velvet Revolver, whatever, Velvet, whatever, who cares?
Velvet Underground, Velvet Revolver. Like there's so many Velvets.
Yeah. It's infuriating to me. It's also, right. I had an interesting conversation with my wife about this. Like part of me is like, there is a place, like you said, a place for AI music. And I jokingly said, well, maybe don't replace like some of the music that I personally don't like. And I won't talk about that because that's, my thing. And she had a really good point. She's like, yeah, but those types of bands that you don't like if it's not human, it doesn't work. And I was specifically referencing like boy bands. She's like, because the only way those bands work is if people can gossip about the celebrity status of the members. And if it's AI, that doesn't work. So this can't even replace the music that I personally don't like. So burn it all to the ground.
Like you have to have human music to like, but you're saying like you have to have human music to not like too. Like,
yeah.
Like you don't want to hate a robot. Like you want something that's worth your hate.
Yeah, and
God, that's so powerful. I'm with you on that.
It's an interesting thing, right? Like as we've been talking about for years at this point, human connection is the root of a lot of success in these industries.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to see the powers that be try to even funnel us away from that. And that's the piece that's insidious to me. The idea that they're trying to weed out human connection from the people who are spending their life making those connections infuriates me to no end, almost more so than the money piece.
And it's going to ruin the experience for the artist. Like so much of what we enjoy in entertainment is not just the content. It's not just the art. It's specifically that it's humans doing it, right? Like I could build, in theory, not me personally, but like I could get engineers to build robots that can high jump higher than a human. I could build robots that could like throw a football farther than Patrick Mahomes. But none of us would be as entertained by that. We watch because we like to watch humans do these things. When we can go to a concert and watch like the Chuck E. Cheese robots perform, but we're not going to be as entertained by that as we are by actual humans performing. Okay, maybe that's a bad example because the Chuck E. Cheese robots are amazing. Like that band is tight. But generally, part of the experience, part of what makes it entertaining is that it's people doing it. If you take the people out, you make the product worse, even if you think that the art that is resulting is just as good, which it's not, by the way. But even if it were, if there's not humans doing it, it's not the same experience. We don't get that same human-to-human connection that makes art and sports and all the other things that humans do so entertaining and so fun.
It's, let's bring it back to where we always go, you and I, Ryan. Let's talk Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift doesn't work if her fans don't feel invested in her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this, I hope that this trend gets crushed pretty quickly because the backlash has been a lot of fun to watch too. I hope this trend in a lot of the Spotify and the powers that be pick up that this is a bad idea, and we start seeing a reduction of this. But if not, I'm very curious to see what the fallout is. You know me, Ryan. I'm kind of a chaos goblin.
Zach, the Chaos Goblin Sloan. Well, we do have sort of a tiny example of this backlash in action, because what we have seen over the last week in terms of what Velvet Sundown's Spotify page looks like is a great example of like the backlash in action. Because if I remember correctly, the original Spotify page for Velvet Sundown tried to make you think that this was a real band. Like, it had the names of the band members in it, like they were real people. It had a photo of the band like it was a real person. And then it even had a fake quote from Billboard magazine, as if like a human music critic actually listened to this band and gave a human review. All of it fake, 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 fake. And so people, responded with a backlash. And so now, if you go to the Velvet Sundown Spotify page, they've waved the white flag. Whoever's behind this monstrosity of a creation has waved the white flag and has at least somewhat conceded the artificial nature of this band. So I'm going to read from you word for word, Zach. I got this here on my phone. The new description of Velvet Sundown. It used to say like, this is a band and they're real and here's their whole story. Now here's what it says. Quote, "The Velvet Sundown is a synthetic music project guided by human creative direction and composed, voiced, and visualized with the support of artificial intelligence." Boy, that makes it sound like, this is 99% human, 1% machine.
The next part's my favorite.
Yeah. "This isn't a trick. It's a mirror. An ongoing artistic provocation designed to challenge the boundaries of authorship, identity, and the future of music itself in the age of AI. All characters, stories, music, and voices and lyrics are original creations generated with the assistance of artificial intelligence tools employed as creative instruments. Any resemblance to actual places, events, or persons, living or deceased, is purely coincidental and unintentional. Not quite human, not quite machine. The Velvet Sundown lives somewhere in between." Gag me! Come on! They make it sound like they're Banksy.
It's terrible.
We're pushing the boundaries. What is art? What is creation? We're redefining it. No. You enter a prompt into Suno and some mediocre music came out and you're trying to make it more than it is. I would know. I do it all the time with our guest music, but I don't try to make it sound like it's more than it is. I would never, ever, ever, ever try to suggest that what I do with AI music is art. It is the opposite of art, and this is the opposite of art, and it has no place on a platform where real living creative artists like Zach are actually trying to make money.
And the nice thing you can do, guys, on Spotify, you can hit the 3 little dots and put "Don't play this artist." That's what I literally just did as I was reading this along with you. So I don't know, Ryan.
But Zach, it's an ongoing artistic provocation designed to challenge the boundaries of authorship, identity, and the future of music.
Sure, that sounds suspiciously like a robot wrote it.
God, that's probably true.
I guarantee.
I bet even that bio is probably fake. I hate it here.
You know what? I'm going to run that bio through an AI detector right now.
Just type that into GPT-0 and see if it's, oh God, that makes me so mad. Oh God. You know what's so upsetting about this? We have 3 minutes before we're going to go to break here and bring in Ariel Hyatt. That story is so depressing that the next story I'm going to give is actually a more positive story. And the positive story is coming from the horrific budget bill that Donald Trump passed. So how low is the bar that last story set that a Donald Trump story actually has better news for indie artists? But here we are. Before the break, I wanted to mention that something I like to call the only good thing to come out of the Donald Trump tax bill. If you look deep through this bill and you get past the Medicaid cuts and the horrific tax cuts for billionaires and just all of the stupid goodies for corporate America, there is a tiny little piece in this legislation, Zach, that's actually a win for indie artists. Something that we've talked about on this show before for years about something that they've been trying to make law. And unfortunately, the only way it got to be made law was being tucked in to the 700th page of the worst piece of legislation that's ever come out of Congress in American history. So within this one big, beautiful bill, as it's been horrifically called, is something called the HITS Act, which is poised to actually put money in the pockets of artists come tax time. So what this law does that has now been passed into law, what the HITS Act does, is it allows artists who are making their own sound recordings, like if you're making an album, the law will allow you to deduct $150,000 of the expenses you use to make that sound recording in the year that you incurred the expense. Normally, the way the law works, like any project that is going to have several years of useful life, is you can't take the deduction right away. You have to amortize it over several years. Usually for a sound recording project, it's like 3 to 4 years of deductions that you have to space out. You don't get them all right away. But what the HITS Act aligns the music industry with the film industry and some other creative industries, allowing artists to take that big old deduction up to $150,000 right away. So for folks like you, Zach, who not only make albums, but make your own albums and spend a lot of money on them, that's something that could help you a little bit come April 15th.
It's interesting to me, and I actually had put in a call to my personal accountant to see how this would apply, because I know a lot of artists who, this is great. I'm not going to complain about this. I think that it is, I worry about the artists who have already invested, like myself. Now I can basically record for free because I've already invested in the gear that I have. I've invested in the computer. Those are expenses that can come up again. But I have the capability now to basically do it on my own. And I don't know if that is taken into account by this bill. But that being said, for anybody who can deduct their expenses for the music they're making, that's fantastic. And I'm happy to hear it. I just want to talk about, I think there's still a little bit of ambiguity on my end, and I want to know what's going on.
Well, it's definitely something, going back to the disclaimer you hear at the very beginning of this show, right? Every person's situation is unique. The things we bring up on this show is not specific advice for your specific situation. As Zach intimated there, you would be well served by talking with your tax preparation professional about this legislation to see about how you can find the best way to make it work for you. It's not a perfect piece of legislation by any means. I think for a lot of artists, particularly those who don't make a lot of income, a tax deduction might not be that helpful for you, because if you're not paying a lot in taxes, then you might not even get a deduction at the end of the year anyway. It would have been cool if maybe the law instead was like a tax credit that musicians get, that you just make it refundable. So even if you don't have taxes, you still get the money back. If you do a recording project, that would have been pretty cool to see. That would really kind of show that we're really actually going to help artists and, encourage them to make more art made by humans. But this is better than nothing. And it's just nice to see that, this law has been being fought about for 3-4 years. It's nice to actually see it passed. I wish it wasn't passed in the most horrific piece of legislation that, Congress could possibly create. But, we'll take the silver linings where we can find them.
Well, Ryan, can I give you an update from producer Lauren?
Sure. Oh, is it about the indictment?
Yep. Lauren dropped in our chat. The dude was released on a $500,000 bond, but is awaiting trial because the firm who represents him represents Diddy.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Wow. Imagine.
They said the case is currently scheduled or rescheduled for August 5th. So we'll get you guys an update next month. But I laughed because I said, maybe they're just too busy for court because they're busy defending Diddy right now.
Oh my God. That's amazing. So this case is rescheduled for August 5th. So when I come back from China, we'll be able to cover this. Like, we should be like Nancy Grace. Remember how Nancy Grace back in the day used to do like day-to-day wall-to-wall coverage of like the Casey Anthony trial? We should do that with this person. Oh, by the way, that was a really bad way of me introducing it. Before I go to break, I should mention I'm going to be out of town for the next 3 weeks of Break the Business episodes. I'm going to be visiting my in-laws in China. My wife and my son are already over there. I'm going to be meeting them over there. And so I'll be away out of the country for the next 3 episodes. But the good news is I am leaving you in the very capable hosting hands of that person in the box right next to mine. Zach Sloan is going to be hosting Break the Business for the next 3 weeks. And I, for one, am pretty excited about that.
Wait, I am? What?
It was like the worst way to drop that on you.
I was unaware. All right, Lauren, let's burn it down. No, it'll be great. I'm looking forward to it. And I love that this is like my little soft launch of getting to like take the host chair for a couple of weeks where I get to start with our great friend Ariel Hyatt.
Yeah, well, you already have the right background behind you.
That's how I got the job.
That's all it takes. And thankfully, my dog still hasn't knocked it on my head yet. So that means we get to go to break, and we'll be coming right back with our guest Ariel Hyatt. It's going to be a blast. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan Kairalla, PA. Ryan Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, you lovely humans. So excited for what we've been able to talk about so far. Some wild stories this week, and have been overjoyed to share those stories with my co-host, Zach Sloan. Thank you for checking us out wherever you're checking us out, whether it is SiriusXM, all major podcast platforms, Twitch, YouTube, or our live streaming friends over at volume.com. Wherever you're taking in this program, I thank you for doing so, and I ask if you'd be so kind. We don't want anything from you. We don't want your money. I mean, if you want to give us money, you can, but we're not looking for money. What we would love... Yeah, Zach's looking for money. He wants that tax deduction. What we want is for you to just spread the word. I love the community that we're building around here. We want to continue to expand that community to help as many artists as we can. So tell a friend, show us some rates, some reviews, subscribe, and just, help us grow here so we can continue to do what we're doing. And if you do that for us, you'll have a special place in my heart. Let's go ahead, Producer Lauren, and bring out our guest this week.
Ariel steps in the spotlight, shining bright. Voice of the music world takes flight, making dreams come true day and night. Publicist queen, lighting up the fight. Break the business, she's gonna ignite, turning whispers into sound bites, guiding stars through the darkest night. Ariel's magic makes it all feel right.
Velvet Sundown has nothing on us. Our guest this week is an acclaimed music publicist and the head of Cyber PR. She is also an author whose latest book is From Buzz to Bond, How to Stop Chasing Hype and Build a Lasting Music Career. The book is available now at cyberprmusic.com. We are happy to welcome Ariel Hyatt on to Break the Business. Hi, Ariel.
Hi, you guys. Oh my God. So much to unpack from the last 20 minutes. I can't. I don't even want to talk about the book. I'm still hung up on Daniel Ek investing in AI weaponry. Why don't we just start there?
I mean, that's funny, right? Like, it's not enough that, like, AI is doing things like replacing musicians or, ruining education because all of my students are trying to like use ChatGPT to write their term papers. That wasn't messed up enough. Now we just have like AI building bombs and stuff. And, Daniel X, like, that's what I want to invest in.
Yeah.
Well, I was a little harsh on him. He only put in $700 million.
No!
Well,
is that right?
694 million according to CNBC.
Yeah, I mean,
But don't worry, guys, Spotify doesn't have
Producer
money.
Lauren, look up how many streams a song would have to be streamed on
oh my God,
Spotify
that's so good. That's
to
so
make
good.
$694 million. Like, if you entered that into like a middle school calculator, it would come back with ERR because there's not enough digits.
Yeah, not enough digits.
That is okay. That's amazing.
Is that not enough to leave Spotify? What's it going to take? Like, what's it going to take? Honestly, like what? Like it. I'm speechless. I'm literally
investing like for like an AI weaponry company. That doesn't even sound real. That sounds like a Superman villain.
No, This is Terminator 2. This is the plot of Terminator 2.
Yeah, it is. It totally is.
How are we supposed to talk about bond marketing now?
I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Because it's been a while. Listen, I've read some Ariel Hyatt books. I even have one in the flesh from way back in the day. I want to know about this. I need something happy in my life, Ryan. That's how we can talk about this.
All right. That's fair. And look, to be fair, this book is a source of happiness. I very much enjoyed reading this. As I said in the beginning of the show, I got an advanced copy of this God, it seems like forever ago.
It was.
And I'm so glad that like finally everybody gets to enjoy the thing that I am enjoying. And I think the biggest theme of this book, Ariel, is this idea of a distinction between what you call buzz marketing and bond marketing, and how buzz marketing is this form of marketing that is being created with the rise of platforms like TikTok and other algorithm-driven platforms where you're getting buzz marketing. And so what is that buzz marketing, and why does your book suggest that it's not really the best kind of marketing?
First of all, hi. Good to see you both. Zach, you still have the best head of hair in the business. Ryan, I didn't get the memo about the background. Forgive me. I went with pink. Okay.
My daughter approves.
How do we do this? Here's sort of how I arrived at why buzz marketing sucks. My job is sitting on the other side of the desk, and the phone rings, and the person is there, and they somehow have 1 million streams on Spotify or 600,000 plays on YouTube or something of that flavor, and they can't fill their hometown. They have no fans. They have nothing. They've
all these followers on TikTok, and none of them will fill out like a 3,000 seat theater in their hometown.
Or even a 30-seat theater. I'm not kidding. So, and then I ask questions. I like asking a lot of questions when I'm maybe going to represent someone and work with them and help them with their digital marketing strategy in this insane business that's so wild. And then I come to find out that, of course, the time, energy, and effort that should have been spent in bond marketing has gone into freaking out about catching algorithms on TikTok, or gaming the system by hiring somewhat shady companies that are doing playlisting or something of the like. And when I get upset, which boy, is there a lot to be upset about these days, I often turn to writing. And this book is the first book I've ever written that is not a tactical book that's full of like, do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. It's more like, okay, mindset time. And what this very short book, it's about 60 pages. Lots of the pages even have pictures. So it's not a big book, because we also don't have any more attention spans thanks to all this buzz marketing. But
I was just about to say that.
What this book is about is we are focusing on the wrong things. And in order to get back to having a sustainable, and not even sustainable, just having a career that makes you feel good, having the gumption to create art and to do it is so brave and so important. And it's the only thing that's going to get us through all this crazy now. But if it's not connecting to anyone because you've spent all your time and energy and effort trying to do a TikTok sound trend or making insane amounts of short form video that you're pushing on social media, which we shouldn't even call social media anymore. We should just call it advertising platforms. And then you end up then on Spotify freaking out that your numbers aren't big, and the money that you've invested in all of that is going to make someone so rich that he's investing $700,000 in annihilating the planet. So that's buzz marketing. What is bond marketing? Bond marketing is the antidote to that. So that's what I've been up to, writing this little.
So, I mean, tell us a little bit more about what bond marketing is, and most importantly, how do the buzz marketing artists transcend or maybe even use their buzz marketing to create bond marketing?
Yeah. So bond marketing is the opposite of buzz marketing. It is, I break it down pretty simply in the book, and there's three core principles of bond marketing. It's building ownership, fostering community, and providing value. That's the opposite of the three main principles of buzz marketing, which is be discoverable, be widely discoverable everywhere, ride trends, and pay to maximize your reach. So, how do you bond market? I created a funnel, which is what most of the book touches on. It's right there. It looks like that. But basically, the idea is you have to start by really understanding who you are. What is your brand? What is it that you have to say? And then you want to think through, how are you connecting to real people, real fans? And how are you providing a safe place for them, a sanctuary where they can all hang out that is not owned by Mark Zuckerberg? And then how do you sustain that community? And that community does not have to be millions of people. That community can be a few dozen people, and you could still, I think, feel radically different about what you do and how you create and what you're putting out into the world if there's a few real fans to come along. And
And
so that's what it's about.
so can you give us a couple concrete examples of tangible bond marketing strategies?
Absolutely. Building an email list. I know it's like the thing artists bristle at, and they freak out about not really wanting to do that because it's not as sexy as getting 100,000 plays or 200,000 streams. But an example is 100% a email list. Another example would be creating a fan sanctuary. Where are you putting your fans where they can come and support you? Is it Patreon? Is it just a text messaging group on your phone where there's 25 fans, your super fans, talking to you? That's another example of a successful buzz marketing execution. I mean, bond marketing execution.
One thing I've seen lately from creators that I really enjoy is they have these like Zoom coffee hangouts.
There you
Right.
go.
And those are the types of things that I start thinking, oh, I would actually pay to do that. I like this artist anyway. But I still feel like their social media probably has some place somewhere in this equation. What is the ongoing role of social media? Or am I wrong and we should just eschew it?
No, I don't think we can ever eschew it. And this is the problem.
No, it's not what I wanted to hear.
I know. And
We
also,
want to do a shoe. It's so bad.
I know. I would say this. I would say it is possible. And I have, when I talk, there's always someone that comes up to me that says, I can't be on social media. My anxiety, my life, my privacy, all of it's too important. And I get all of that. I suppose you could, however, we are so on it and it's so ingrained. It is a way that people actually can come across you and can find you. And it is a place where people do check to see if you're still alive. It's two-dimensional, sadly. Sending an email into the ether is not the same as going to someone's whatever page and just making sure they're still there. So there's that. But there is also the thing that I've seen, because I have been marketing, promoting, and doing publicity for musicians for almost 3 decades. Holy hell, how am I this old? What I do see is we're taking our eyes off of the initial prize. I think about when I first started back in the day at the first record label I worked at when I was 1 minute out of college. The whole game was building mailing lists, not even email, because it wasn't really a big thing. It was like, did we have physical mailing addresses of fans? And we did postcard mail outs, and we would mail like newsletters, like physical paper newsletters on the band's behalf. That was how we used to do marketing. So that's how old I am. And then the thing that was very cool about having that information was, of course, you knew where your fans lived, what city, what state. I mean, you can do a lot of that now, of course, with email marketing. But
Am I crazy to think that for the right artist in the right setting, like that would actually still be a pretty effective strategy? Like,
yeah,
I would love to get like a postcard that I could hold in my hand from my favorite artist. My God, in 2025, that would blow my mind.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
and I don't know, there is a whole free plus shipping marketing strategy that ClickFunnels teaches. A lot of the gurus in marketing today teach free plus shipping, meaning you give away something for free. And the idea is the person that wants it only pays for the shipping. Of course, you have an upsell and you make a little money on it. However, the real point of that is you are knowing exactly where the person that you're sending that thing lives. If you ever want to go to that place, you know exactly how many people physically received a thing. Very important information.
So I'm thinking about all of this in the context of let's imagine a fictional, not AI generated, but a fictional band that is
A hypothetical real band.
a hypothetical real band. And they are just started, maybe they have an EP or a record or a single or whatever.
Mhm.
Using these, looking at the buzz marketing, looking at the bond marketing, what are the action steps that these new artists or even established artists need to be sort of working themselves through to make these actual connections with people?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is you have to almost like lobotomize yourself, because everything that we've been like thinking about and focusing on mostly is not geared towards how to bond market at all. It's been about looking at all these crazy things. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is understanding that you have to come to grips with the fact that just having really good music is not what's going to do this. There's a secondary piece to that, which is another sort of wildly depressing thing about where we've arrived, which is I'm of a generation that's old enough to, and so is Ryan, although he's much younger than me, is when I was growing up, I spent like most of my 20s and 30s literally only talking about music, about albums, about live shows, about collections of music, about this is something that the youth today doesn't do in the same way. They're not experiencing music as the main course. They're experiencing it as a secondary thing. It's background music. It's music that comes in video games. It comes in movies. It's part of a brand activation. I'm going to
6 seconds of music in a TikTok trend.
Right.
There you are.
Where most of the people who watch like don't even know what the whole song sounds like.
Correct. So that's okay. Get that. but then get that when you're building a bond marketing strategy, you want to build in something else. What is that something else? Is it that you have to have a voice, you have to have another thing you're doing, and you have to be able to create multiple touch points to attract fans. And multiple touch points cannot be, moments that are again owned by billionaires and conglomerates. They have to be touch points where people can actually move out of those domains into your domain, however that is. And so then you also have to be able to create a community where people want to be a part of what you're creating. There is another part of this, which is we are living in a post-pandemic world. No one, I love that you mentioned Taylor Swift, and you often do on your show.
At
No
least
one,
once a show.
no one wants to go back to like the Tuesday night at the local bar with a beer and a 10 o'clock set for 45 minutes. Like that is not what is turning people on anymore. We're looking for an experience. And so if you think about like why your Facebook feed broke last summer when Tay was going all over the world and half your friends were getting in airplanes and flying to foreign countries to have this experience, that of course is the ultimate, and that's not what everybody can create as an indie musician, but it's like, what's your version of that? What are you going to do that's going to make people take the time to have an experience with you? And you can create that in someone's backyard. It does not have to be a European tour, but we are more lonely than ever. We're more disconnected than ever. We're experiencing more terror than ever with things that are unmentionable and thank God way above my pay grade. However, the thing that's really clear is like we are all looking to be in community and we are looking to bond, and music is a healing salve. So how do you create that? So that's what this book is really inquiring about.
I like that element of it, the idea that bond marketing isn't just valuable for the artists, it's valuable for the fans too. We need those bonds too. We need to have that kind of connection with art that we love, and to have it be a deeper connection than just something I heard for 6 seconds on TikTok. I want to come back to what you were saying about email marketing, because I do want to give you another opportunity to extol the virtues of what I think is a lost marketing art for a lot of young artists today. Can you give the viewers and listeners a little bit of advice on how to be effective with email marketing, and with specific focus on something you mentioned in your book, that one tip for effective email marketing is to, quote, not call it a newsletter.
Yeah.
Interested in why that's the case.
I think when you think about what a newsletter is just that. It's news in the form of an email, right? So like the reason why artists are violently allergic to making emails is they've received one too many newsletters, which is like always has the same format. It opens up with, hey, whoever, sorry it's been so long since I've sent my email. Then they go on to talk about something important. They have a release or a tour coming up, and there's a certain hint of desperation within the air. And then they go on to list all the things that you're supposed to do, like pre-save or follow or buy a ticket or here's all the tour dates. And that is not interesting. That is informational. It is a newsletter. That is not going to get people to want to open, unless they love your live show, they'll open it and they'll buy a ticket. However, that is not how you're going to bond with your fan base. So the question then becomes, what is it that you want to say? What do you want to include in that email, which is it's a different conversation. So the tip here is think about it. Are you funny? Are you snarky? Are you dry? Do you like crazy jokes? Are you a social justice warrior? Do you want to talk about kittens and puppies? I don't know, whatever. You can do whatever you want in your email. Of course, it has to be on brand and somewhat match with your music, but there's reasons why people are succeeding on Medium and succeeding with long form email format nowadays, and people are actually paying. It does work.
Our guest this week has been one of our favorite people ever, Ariel Hyatt of Cyber PR. Her new book, From Buzz to Bond, How to Stop Chasing Hype and Build a Lasting Music Career, is available now. Check it out. Find out more about our guest by visiting cyberprmusic.com. Ariel, as always, it is a pleasure to have you on this program. Before we let you go, we got one last question for you. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Yes, I do. I would say my number one tip in 2025 for any indie artist that is looking to move their career forward is forgive yourself. Be kind to yourself. There is always something else to do. It's endless. It's an onslaught. Just make the best music you can make and be okay with staying in a space where you're not self-flagellating with this entire landscape that can be so confounding and overwhelming. That's
I
it.
love that. Thank you so much, Ariel. Our thanks to Ariel Hyatt and Zach Sloan and producer Lauren. Producer Lauren, did we ever get a final calculation on how many Spotify streams it would take to equal the amount of money that Daniel Ek invested in that evil AI weapons company? What does that say? Using an estimated 0.4 cents per stream, 694 million times 0.004 is, I can't even calculate that. Is that 173 billion trillion?
500 million streams.
A billion.
I mean, now to be fair, I'm pretty sure Spotify is going to allow Velvet Sundown to get to that number by next week's show. Thanks to all of you for checking out Break the Business. Mwah! We love you, and we'll see you next week.